man, you late, motherfucker. Where you been? What's going on, everybody? I'm Winston A, aka the Swaggy Blerd, and this is my CPT review of American Fiction. Now, I just gotta go right off the bat, man. This cracked my top 5 of the year. It's one of the best films I've seen in the last few years. And I think the big thing to take right out of the gate about this movie, and like most movies, the thing that will put them on a pedestal for people like that has a tendency to be based on if there is some personal connection that you kind of have to the actual film, the TV show, the comic book, whatever it is. Now, a good story will do that. A great story has the ability, a great film has the ability to transcend individuals, and everybody can find something out of this. Now, I'm going to say off the bat with American Fiction, I think black people, for the most part, especially black artists, are going to connect with this a little bit deeper than other folks. But that doesn't mean that there isn't something here for everyone. Now, first of all, if you look at just the family element, and I'm not going to get too deep into spoilers, but I am going to talk about plot points. If you look at the family element, we've all dealt with loss in the family, one way or the other. Some of us may have been fortunate that you haven't lost a parent, a sibling, a grandparent, anything like that. But even if you just lost a pet, if you, a friend permanently moved away that you never saw again, we've all experienced some major loss tied to a close relationship or a familiar one, even if you weren't super close, that there's something missing there. And I think that was just very beautifully done in how that affects different people in the family. But I think the main story here, and this is something, again, that I think that everybody can relate to, is this idea of, do we have to pander to be successful? Is it this mentality that we have to be less than ourselves in order for the world to acknowledge and recognize us? And Jeffrey Wright and Sterling K. Brown do a brilliant job of asking and answering that question. I think probably the linchpin moment for me in the film would be both two different conversations. One between Monk, that's Jeffrey's character, and his brother, played by Sterling K. Brown. The name is escaping me at the moment. That's okay. There's a moment where they're having a conversation about how Monk never got a chance to really be himself around his dad. But Sterling did, and the reason that Sterling's character did, and it turns out that he was gay, and he'd let the father know that. And there was a question by Jeffrey Wright's character, being like, well, isn't it scary that he may have rejected you? It's like, yeah, but I'd rather it be a rejection of who I am truly than a rejection of this false character, of this false person that I'm putting on. And I think that is so brilliant and so powerful. And I think that's one of the things that we don't do a lot in society anymore, because of social media, everything else. We're very good at putting on a front. We're very good at putting on this idea of what we are versus who we actually are. And I think that was so brilliantly just addressed in this idea of, there are going to be some times where you are going to want to be 100% yourself. And for those that are closest to you, you're going to want to continue to do that. But I think the other takeaway lesson from this, and then that ties into the character, the other conversation that happens between Jeffrey Wright's character Monk and then Issa Rae's character, who's the competing black author who wrote. The funny thing is, like, man, all these black books that are in here that are being read feel very reminiscent of Insecure. They would have like the Due North, which is like the fake slavery show, and things like that. So her book is kind of follows that in like a hood story. You don't hear a whole lot, but it feels very like in the realm of Precious and all that stuff. And you actually see at one point there's a Black History, Black Stories on a marathon on TV, and it's Boys in the Hood, Precious, all the classics, and love all those films. But again, this idea that in Hollywood we're seen as thugs, slaves, baby mamas and baby daddies, like poor, like all this, you know what I'm saying? And so you see Monk's character trying to be outside of that, and he starts questioning, like, don't you feel like your book panders? And Issa's character pushes back and goes, I actually did a lot of research about mine, and there's actually soul to it because I've actually gone and gotten those real stories. Whereas at the time, she doesn't know that Monk wrote Fuck, which is the soulless, perfectly acted out by Keith David, like just ghetto epitaph. But just this idea of doing the research, having the actual stories and the heart and the soul that are in it, so it may have that shell, but there's some real truth to it. And to be honest with you, that's what you see in stuff like Boys in the Hood, for example. Like, it's very clear that John Singleton didn't just write this as some sort of one-off, that was something that was very real to what Black folk were going through at the time. So this idea of, if you're going to put on the facade, that there still be some truth to it. You know what I mean? And I think that was kind of the brilliance. Now, mind you, by the time it's all said and done and it's over, got to put Mama in the home, got to pay the bills. So sometimes you got to sell out. But I think that's the main difference. And I think that is the struggle that a lot of artists face is, do you stay true to yourself or do you sell out? And that's something that we as humans in society nowadays, again, with social media and everything like that, like it baffles me that, like, so many of my nieces and nephews, so many young folk, Gen Z folk that I talk to and whatnot, that whole life, like, you don't get phone numbers anymore, you don't whatever, it's all, let me get your Snap, let me get your TikTok, let me get your IG, and then again, that's curated. That's all fully curated. So I love this idea of what it means to be true to yourself and just messy. And so I'm curious what you think about the film. Please be sure to get down in that comments section and let's have a discussion, man. Like, let's keep it classy and whatnot. But what did you think about American Fiction? Do you think that Jeffrey Wright and Sterling K. Brown have any sort of shot of winning these acting awards, as well as this is also up for score and screenplay? So I'm curious what you adapted screenplay. So I'm curious what you think. If you think American Fiction will take any awards home. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, man. As you come here, we've got sketches, we got comedy stuff, and we got these reviews. So you definitely want to come stop through so you can get a little bit of everything. Again, this is CPT reviews, and what I'm doing right now is I'm going through, as we're getting very close to the Oscars here, I'm going through the Oscar movies and dropping these reviews. There will be one slotted in for the first Dune, as well as Dune 2 once that drops. But for the first Dune, doing a CPT review on that. I watched it a couple weeks ago. I already recorded that review. That should be out in the next day or so, or it's already out. I have to look and see what I've scheduled. But yeah, please be sure, man, come on back. Let's talk it up. Let's talk about these films, man, and what the fuck is going on. And if you haven't already, go follow me on all the social platforms, man. You can also see me over at the Christian Harloff channel on Capes and Cows every Friday with Christian and Coy. That's dope. And then I got some other cool stuff coming up in the works, man. So thank you so much for taking the time to chill out, man. And it's funny what I did. I did a Letterboxd review about this, and I think the thing that really stuck out to me, I was really hearing in my head the Jimmy V speech. For those that don't know, Jimmy V, the coach that was fighting cancer and whatnot. It's a very famous speech that he did at the ESPYs. But what really stuck out for American Fiction is that quote of, if you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day. If you do that 7 days a week, then you've got something special. I think American Fiction is exactly that. I laughed. I thought. I didn't cry, but I got emotional. And that's why the movie's sticking to my ribs, man. So with that, I'll stay safe. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.